Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Jeff, agents are the enemy. We can't work with them. All they do is make our lives a living hell. And while some agents can be difficult, let's face it, guys, some sellers can be difficult too. Part of it is that you haven't been taught how to speak with agents properly. So stay tuned in this video. We're going to talk about how to have a good conversation with agents because they're going to more respect what you're doing and your ability to help them. Let's think about what an agent wants, what they're trying to accomplish, what their problems are, and you're going to have a far better conversation than when you just go in guns a-blazing saying, why does your seller want to sell? All that does is piss them off. Let's fix it.
All right, so the first thing that we need to do when we're thinking about reaching out to agents is let's understand their perspective of the matter. So when we as investors reach out, we understand what their thoughts are and we can prepare appropriately. So first, what has the agent done to prepare? So if you're an agent and you want to create a listing, what are the things that they have to go through? One, they have to reach out to sellers also and find people who do actively want to sell. They do pursue that. The second thing they're going to do, they're going to run comps. They're going to do an analysis. They're going to figure out what it's going to take to sell the property at what price. And they're going to give their best recommendation on how long they think it's going to take. Now, what the realtors should also be doing is they should be consulting with the sellers and saying, I think if you do X, Y, and Z, you will get better offers. Maybe it'll sell faster. They're going to give their professional advice on how to do this. What happens next? The seller says, great, let's do it. Sign a listing agreement. Realtor says, great, we're going to take photos. I'm going to get this thing on the MLS. So that is the snapshot process of what a realtor has to go through just to earn the listing. It is work. Now, regardless if you think the realtors are going out and just trying to get somebody to sign up, it's like, what the hell? I'll just list it for the price they want. Let's put that one aside for a second. Let's assume these are agents who are genuinely trying to help their sellers. They've done all of this stuff to get it ready for showtime. And think about it. When their phone rings, what does the agent want to have happen? What do they want? What they want, everyone, is offers. The doomsday scenario for an agent is not that the property gets a offer that's lower than asking price. That's not the tragedy. The tragedy is where no one offers them anything at all. That is the hellscape nightmare that keeps agents up at night. So us as investors, we need to recognize that we need to treat them differently. Remember, the agent is not the decision maker. The agent is a gatekeeper and an influencer. So when we think about reaching out to them and saying, well, what's your seller's motivation? Why do they want to sell? What do they want to move to? The agent doesn't register this as a useful conversation because in their mind, they've already done that. They've already established the seller wants to sell. So when we keep coming at them with questions of what's your seller's motivation, where they're going, all they're thinking in their mind is the seller wants to sell, the house is here, here's the price. What the hell are we doing? Why do you keep asking me this? It's not helping. Do you want to buy the house or not? So instead, what we have to do as investors, we need to get into the offers as fast as possible. Now, how do we do this? Well, first of all, when we get on the call, what I find works the best is when I introduce myself, I say, hey, my name is Jeff Smith. I'm looking at this listing. I'm actually looking through a few different listings now. I came across this opportunity and I wanted to find out if maybe this would fit my criteria. What I'm doing is I'm establishing you're not the only game in town. I'm looking through different listings. And here is what I am trying to accomplish because no one actually cares what business you're with, what your title is, none of it. So when I was pursuing land, for example, I might say, hey, I see this listing. I'm going through a few today. I saw this 150 acres. I thought it might meet my criteria. And I wanted to talk with you and see if it makes sense. Do you have time? Much different dynamic that we've set up here. And so the realtors, if they're good, they'll respond, yeah, I'd be glad to talk with you. Tell me what you want to do. Are you a realtor, you buyer, whatever? And you answer those questions. And then we start more into a little bit about the property. Now, keep in mind, everybody, there's already photos there. So it doesn't make any sense for me to ask, well, what does the kitchen look like? What do the bathrooms look like? How many beds is it? Those are just condition questions. The photos are there and they pay good money. Instead, what we want to ask is, if I were to present an offer, is there anything I should know that I can't see in the photos? If I were to put in an offer, is there anything that other buyers have run into that stopped them from finishing the deal? Do you feel there is anything that could stop the purchase of this property, or at minimum make it difficult? Are there any obstacles that have stopped you from moving ahead with this right now? What I also want to be careful of, everyone, is I don't want to I don't want to address the days on market in such a negative way that it's actually insulting to the agent. What some people will do is they'll say, man, like I see this listing on, on market for 120 days. Like, what happened? Sometimes this can come across as belittling, as if we're saying, hey, this thing's been on market 120 days. How did you manage to screw this up? And even though it's not our intention, we just want to avoid it. So if it is something I want to bring up, it might be me asking, I do see this has been on the market for 120 days. That's obviously longer than any of us want, but what have been the responses from the buyers so far that stopped it from getting sold? Again, I'm not placing the critique on the agent as if the agent didn't perform. I'm placing the critique on what has stopped the buyers from doing this thing. And the agent is going to find that to be a lot more effective and producing valuable information, because I keep addressing the idea of I want to produce an offer. What I don't want to do is produce an offer and then I just go and stumble over the same blocks that the other buyers did for the past 4 months. Let's not do that. So a lot of people also ask me, Jeff, if I'm doing creative deals, if I'm chasing low equity, or if I'm chasing a listing that is indicating seller financing, how and when do I speak with the seller? This is a very key point. Remember, this is not a direct to seller target you're chasing. This is directly going to the agent. We don't want to backdoor the agent, but especially if we're doing a creative deal. What that means is we're going to have some kind of long-term relationship with the seller. We do need to speak with them at some point, but I want to do that very respectfully. So when I get to the place where I've discussed with the agent and maybe we agreed subject to is the right solution, maybe we agreed seller financing is the right solution, whatever that is, what I will say to the agent is, okay, I think you and I agree this is going to work. We seem to agree that the seller is open to this idea and we're ready to move forward. Mr. and Miss Agent, here's a suggestion. I'd kind of like your opinion about this. With other people I've worked with, because this is a long-term relationship and because subject to seller finance has these nuances, our best experience has been when the agent introduces us in a conference call, and that way the seller feels like they have someone that they're going to connect with. I can address all those questions, and that way you don't have to play this game of telephone explaining to the seller what we're going to do. But I would like to defer to your guidance. What do you think about doing a call like this? Well, what's your opinion? And this way I'm introducing it almost as if it was the agent's idea, and that they can have the respect and also that barrier to say, I'm the one allowing you inside this gate, instead of us saying, hey, Mr. Agent, I really want to talk to the seller. When can you schedule that conference call? It's just a respectful mechanism that says, I'm not going behind your back, but I am doing this in yours and your seller's best interest. The key to all of this, guys, is you want to be sure that you and the agent are on the same team. Always have that attitude. Hey, Mr. and Miss Agent, let's team up. I even say that sometimes. Hey, let's team up. You and I can probably figure this out for your seller. Let's figure out how we're going to get a deal done. It has a much different attitude to it. All right, now at the end, why do I have this question, when to withdraw? Here's the thing that also makes closing agent listings different than closing sellers. When we're on the phone with the sellers, I've always taught you guys, stay on the phone till the bitter end. You're walking through the agreement, work it through with them. When you have this, though, sometimes we send contracts and the agent says, okay, I'm going to go work with my seller. They got to go to bat for you, and the agent basically has to close it. Sometimes, though, you'll send a contract and the agent, it may not even be the fault of the agent, but there is a delay on the seller's side for some reason. Okay, maybe they're thinking in their mind, oh, I'm getting cold feet about this. Well, what if that magical buyer shows up with $10 trillion and I'm leaving tons of money on it? Like, this happens all the time. So you always have to have this threat that you are going to go away if the seller doesn't take action soon. Now, you can do this a couple of different ways. One of my favorite tactics to do is simply set expectations with the agent and ask them, when are you and your seller going to be able to talk about this in detail? And again, do you feel like it is a good idea for us to have a conference call to discuss and answer all questions? What we always want to do, guys, we want to set these milestones and set these dates so they don't just live off into forever. So if the agent says, I'm going to have a call scheduled with my client this evening or tomorrow evening, whatever it is, that's when we're going to go over it. Say, great. So that'll be the time you all can discuss this. I would like for us to see if we're going to make a conclusion here within a couple of days after that. Because the truth is, Mr. and Miss Agent, if we can't come to a conclusion basically 48 hours or 72 hours after you and your client have met, chances are this isn't going to work out and we're probably just going to have to move on. It's just what experience tells me. I hope I'm wrong. And set that kind of uncertainty in the agent's voice that you are not going to stick around forever. And the thing is, you have to abide by that threat. So if the agent goes and says, hey, I've spoken with my seller, they're just kind of thinking about it, they think it's a good idea, I think they're going to do it, you're going to have to instill that idea that, listen, if the seller's thinking about it and they think they're going to do it and they think maybe they'll make the signature and they think maybe that's a good idea, say, look, I've been in this business long enough to know that if they're not excited to do this within 24, 48 hours, it's usually a no. So I think what we're actually going to do is, if they're still uncertain after another day, is we're just going to politely withdraw the offer and say, hey, that's our best shot. If that doesn't get the seller up and going, then we probably need to explore further options, because we don't send offers out unless we have funds reserved so we can execute. Because God forbid I send out 100 contracts, they all sign up, and I don't actually have the money to execute all of them. So what do you think, agent? And again, it's that push to say, we are going to leave and pursue something else unless the seller says they want to play ball. So everybody, again, recognize agents are not the enemy. And agents, if you're watching, investors are not the enemy. But investors recognize we do need to communicate and talk with these guys differently because of the different position they're in. Start pushing the idea. What is it going to take for me to produce an offer? What could get in my way if I tried to purchase it? What has stopped other people from purchasing it? What do you think needs to happen in order to make a deal? And be a part of that agent's team. Guys, if you are looking to get better on your calls, I have free training for you. There's a link in the description here. It's called Elite Calls School. Please come hang out. It's an awesome program. Lots of people getting huge benefits out of it. If you're at a point, though, where you're ready to close deals, Jeff, I need to make some money. I need to close these deals. I'm done. Check out Closer School. It's my premium program. I got about 50 students in it right now, and they're making deals now, and they're getting more deals because now they know how to have these conversations. They know how to ask questions. They know how to push the conversation forward, and they know how to close. So stay tuned. Please like and subscribe this as well, and we'll see you on the next one.